Have you always wanted to find your voice fingerpicking your ukulele as a solo instrument? In this video, I'm going to share my #1 secret I've been using for years to come up with my own creative, intricate, and expressive solo fingerpicking pieces. By the end of this video, you're going to be playing a solo, so grab your ukulele, tune up, and let's get into it. My name is Brett, and I'm from Ukulele Tricks, a website that helps you become a better ukulele player. A lot of people have the misconception that you have to have years and years of experience before you could ever fingerpick. But in this video, I'm going to break down a simple process you can start using to come up with your own solos today. Before I jump in, let me quickly recap what I covered in the last two videos. In the first video, I showed you how with the right approach, the right steps, and the right pace, you can learn how to fingerpick ukulele with just 15 minutes of practice. Using the 15-minute play-to-learn method as the foundation, you learn fingerpicking technique in a really helpful exercise to get comfortable picking the strings. In the second video, I taught you an arpeggio pattern that's going to be the foundation of the solo you learn in this lesson. If you haven't watched those first two videos yet, make sure you do that right now because we covered a lot of critical information and I don't want you to miss it. One of my big philosophies as a teacher is that you should really learn to play the style you love on ukulele. I know a lot of you out there think that certain styles are just off limits because you say, well, I just started, or I haven't put my time in yet, or I'm too old, or, I'm never going to play like that amazing solo ukulele player I just saw at a festival, so I'm just not even going to try. I mean, we all make excuses, and I'll admit when it comes to soloing, it can be confusing at first, but I just want to reassure you that if you're a beginner to fingerpicking and you've watched the videos up until now, then you're totally ready for this. So I'm really excited to show you this trick. I call it the first time Fingerstyle-r trick. Let's break this down so you can start using it today to solo. Alright, first let's take that arpeggio pattern you learned in the last video, where you pluck the C string, E string, A string, and E string in succession, just like so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's count out that pattern to what's called an eighth note count, where we count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and so on. Here's what that's going to sound like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 For our solo today, you just need to know two chords, a C chord and a G7 chord. The C chord is played regularly, just like this. And then the G7 chord is played regularly, just like this. For our solo, we're going to take those chords and switch between them every two measures, just like so. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Chances are you've heard these chords before. They're very common, but we can actually spice them up to make an intricate and melodic sounding solo by using C and G7 chord variations. Now this is about to get really neat, so stay with me. A lot of beginners think there's only one way to play a chord, but there are actually often a dozen different ways to play the same chord across the ukulele fretboard. By playing these chord variations up the neck, we're going to emphasize higher melody notes played on that bottom A string, which is going to make what we're playing sound way more interesting, complex, and expressive sounding. Now, fair warning, these new chord variations will challenge your fretting hand a little, but I promise it's nothing you can't learn. So the next question is, what chord variations can we play? For the C chord, we're going to select between three different variations. Variation will be familiar to you. It's where you place the ring finger on the bottom A string and let the other strings ring open. But let's spice this up with variation 2 of the C chord, which is played by placing the ring finger on the 7th fret of the bottom A string and letting the other strings ring open. I don't know about you, but it's starting to sound just a little bit more different and interesting. Then we have variation 3 of the C chord, which is played by placing the ring finger on the 10th fret of the bottom A string and letting the other strings ring open. Notice how when we go up the fretboard and change the C chord variation, we emphasize a higher note in the chord. It's a small variation that creates an interesting and intricate sound for our audience. Okay, now let's take this same idea and discover G7 chord variations. Variation 1 of a G7 is already familiar to you, where you place the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, index finger on the 1st fret of the E string, and ring finger on the 2nd fret of that bottom A string. Now let's spice that variation up and play variation 2 of G7, where you place the middle finger on the 5th fret of the C string, index finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, and ring finger on the 5th fret of the bottom A string. Sounds pretty neat, right? And notice how this position slides nicely from the first variation, where you don't even have to move your fingers from the strings. So variation 1, and then slide it up to variation 2. And then we have variation 3 of G7, where you bar or press down on the bottom 3 strings at the 7th fret, right here. Then place the middle finger on the 8th fret of the bottom A string. Okay, so just to recap, our C chord variations are like so. And our G7 chord variations are just like this. Now let's make you a first-time fingerstyler with this trick. For this trick, you're going to switch from a C to G7 chord every 2 measures, but every time you switch, you're going to pick a new variation of these chords. So let me play you an example where I'm going to come up with a fingerstyle solo just using these chord variations. Let's take a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what in the world did I just play there? Well, I took the chords and structure I taught you and I created something new. But to do that, I followed just 3 steps. First, I took that repeating arpeggio pattern. The whole time, the picking pattern never changed. Second, I selected the C to G7 chord progression as the basis or foundation for the solo. And 3, every time I changed between a C and G7 chord, I picked a different variation for each of those chords to create a more intricate and interesting fingerstyle solo. Okay, I hope this is getting the wheels spinning in your brain for you, because now it's your turn. Here's how I want you to apply the 15-minute play to learn method today, and what I want you to spend at least 15 minutes on. In the first 5 minutes, warm up and practice the picking pattern. In the second 5 minutes, practice those C and G7 chord variations that I taught you in this video. And then in the last 5 minutes, try your hand at coming up with your own fingerstyle solo using these chord variations, and feel free to mix it up. By practicing these exact steps, you'll be improving your picking hand technique, fretting hand technique, and experience the satisfaction of fingerpicking solo. And for my most ambitious students, I have an extra challenge for you. In the link below this video, I have a bonus worksheet you can download to print out and come up with other chord progressions, as well as an additional trick for how you can come up with those chord variations with the Ukulele Tricks chord library tool. I also throw in the ukulele tab and an additional solo you can practice in that worksheet. Be sure to grab this worksheet if you want to take this concept further and make even more solos. If you enjoyed this trick, then I've got some good news. In my upcoming course, Fingerpicking Tricks, I take you even deeper into the world of fingerpicking the ukulele in multiple ways, like picking the chords of a song you normally strum, playing solo arpeggio pieces with more intricate melodies, teaching you how to play Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven with melodic fingerstyle, and showing you how to play chord melody where you strum the chords of a song and pick the melody at the same time. This course is going to launch in a few days, so make sure you keep your eyes open. This upcoming course is the best training I've ever released on how to take students from beginner to a proficient, creative, and expressive solo fingerpicker with the 15-minute play to learn method. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you click the link under this video and put your name on the early bird waitlist. Everyone on the early bird waitlist will get access to the registration link the night before the program opens to the public. So again, make sure you put your name and email address on that early bird waitlist so I know you're interested. Just click the link below this video, enter your details, and your spot will be reserved, and you'll get early access to the program. In the next video, which I'm only sending out to those on the Fingerpicking Tricks waiting list, I show you the complete plan from beginning to end that you need to follow to fingerpick the ukulele as a solo instrument. It's everything I wish I knew when I first started to fingerpick, and I know it's going to be something that really helps you find a path forward and play the music you want to play. I'm going to peel back the curtains and show you every single step you have to take. You don't want to miss that video because you'll know exactly what's required to meet your goal of fingerpicking the ukulele solo. Thanks so much for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next one. I'll see you there.